Haven't woken up yet. Gonna fall asleep up here.
Everyone just say it with me. Hi, I'm Erik Sass. I am a reporter for MediaPost, and we have assembled a great. Sorry, I don't know why I have these pens in my hand. A great panel on driving social further down the conversion funnel. I think most of you probably kind of intuitively know what this topic is going to be about, but if you don't, you're about to find out. So I'm Erik Sass, moderator, and then to my left, your right, first up we have Chris Baggett, chairman at Compendium. After him, we have Doreen D'Souza, president and co-founder of Searchforce. After him, we have Larry Kim, founder of WordStream. And at the end there, that is not Chris Zaharias, who was originally supposed to be here from Triget. That's Peter Schenk, who's filling in. I guess Chris unfortunately got stranded in Europe, which is a terrible fate, of course.
We all feel sorry for him now.
But I'm gonna go through, I'll have them introduce themselves very quick, 10 seconds each, just to tell you a little bit about themselves and what their company does, and then we'll get into it.
Great, thank you. I'm Chris Baggett. I'm a co-founder of ExactTarget, hence my interest in email, but I'm also the founder of Compendium, which is a content marketing platform.
Darren D'Souza, president of Searchforce. We're a bid management platform, and I promised Sid Shah from eFrontier last night that I'd use every freaking buzzword during this panel, from attribution to retargeting and social influence.
Awesome.
Larry Kim with WordStream. I'm the founder. We're the provider of something called the 20-minute PPC work week and another thing called the AdWords Grader. So.
And I'm Peter Schenk, aka Slim Shanky, the guy that's been doing all the obnoxious tweets. If you came here for Chris, I'm sorry. And if you're missing my brother Jeff Shank, you're welcome. I am a sales manager at Triget, which is a DSP that's doing retargeting on the Facebook exchange.
All right, cool. So I guess we'll just address the elephant in the room first. Is it fair to say that until now at least, click-through rates and other measures of conversion on Facebook have been pretty abysmal? And why do you think that is, if that is the case?
Sure, I'll take that one. I did a study on Facebook advertising performance in May. It was a pretty spectacular study comparing the performance of Facebook advertising versus the Google Display Network, and we found that typical click-through rates on Facebook were 0.04%, which is roughly a tenth of what you would comparably see on the Google Display Network. And of course, I think that's a problem because the click-through rates are proportional to the engagement of the ads. It's proportional to the relevancy of the ads, and that kind of stuff. We also found that the conversion rates and cost per conversions were also about an order of magnitude difference. And so as for why that is, I think there's fundamentally a problem in terms of being able to capture actionable intent, like commercial intent from Facebook, and then convert that into sales and leads. Like that hasn't been solved yet. And secondly, I would say that I don't know if advertising is really a priority at Facebook. It seems to be more of like a side project to pay the bills. Sometimes I feel like Mark Zuckerberg did a letter to shareholders, and he mentioned the word advertising once. So there's some problems there.
Does that seem?
Can I add to it?
Yeah, please.
So Facebook Exchange, for those of you that aren't familiar, it was released or publicly announced in September of this year, is a part of Facebook advertising, an exchange environment where advertisers can bring their own first-party data or third-party data into Facebook and advertise. The most common example of that is retargeting, and usually pixeling someone on your site, capturing their intent or pulling intent from a third-party data source, plugging it in on the Facebook exchange. So to kind of follow on what Larry just said, the problem that people have seen in social is how do you discover intent on social? Where are the buying signals in social, and how do you ultimately turn that into a conversion? And what Facebook Exchange is doing is allowing you to take intent outside of Facebook and bring it in and fill in that void for driving the conversion at the bottom. And while he said that social has been a 0.04, I've heard 0.08 click-through rate, which is, nothing to really brag about. We've seen on average about a 0.2 click-through rate on Facebook and a lot of conversions driven. So we've had a lot of success on Facebook, kind of the flip side of Facebook.
I think stepping back from Facebook Exchange, I think when Facebook first released its ad management platform, everyone jumped on the bandwagon of being able to micro-target your prospect based on all the data available, but it didn't necessarily work. And I think it's primarily for the reason that people consume social media very differently than they do paid search. Right? You log into Facebook to engage with your fans. You log into Facebook to engage with your social network, et cetera, and you're not in there to buy something, right? You're in there to engage. And for me, one of my biggest hobbies is aviation, right? But I get served ads from Boeing, and I sure as hell hate buying a Boeing 747 anytime soon, right? So when we go
We can
IPO,
only hope.
maybe it will translate. But I think
When you hit the big
I think
time.
that's the issue. It doesn't translate my hobbies and intent into intent to purchase.
Yeah, I think someone on the last panel made a great point about how to approach users on Facebook, and the analogy I try and think of is, if I don't know somebody on Facebook and I try and friend request them, I better either be famous, like I'm I don't know, I'm Eminem or I'm Dr. Dre or something, and I'm trying to reach out to a rap fan, and they're like, oh my God, Dr. Dre just friend requested me, yes, or I am adding value to their time on Facebook. I'm not taking away from the value that they already get out of Facebook. And there's, if you know everything about your user on Facebook that you're targeting, it doesn't necessarily mean that they care about what you have to tell them or offer them. And it's you walk that thin line. You don't want to be an annoyance. You don't want them to click on the X's in your ad and report or complain about your ads. You want to add value to their experience on Facebook. And so, like Darren just said, just because I like Boeing doesn't mean I want to be sold a Boeing jet. But if I'm visiting, Boeing's purchase page on their site and actually looking at the details of how to buy and finance a plane, then maybe, that would be something I'm interested in. And I'm probably already getting made fun of up there, right? No? Okay.
And if I could just say, even though it may not be super high volume, it's so cheap that we've seen it work very successfully in email acquisition campaigns, and where you can get an average email address from a well-qualified person for around $2, as opposed to companies that will pay $10 for an email address, in acquisition. So, there's that aspect. There's also the hyper local aspect as well. Small businesses, I think, do really well in Facebook ads.
The whole jet discussion gets to our next question. Are people displaying what I would consider actionable intent on Facebook? And where is this intent visible? Do we know? Is it there, first of all, and where do we find it? Anyone?
We're all being really polite.
This is
Try
no
not
place
to
to be
hug the
polite. It's the last panel of the conference.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around, everyone.
Yeah.
I know it was tempting to go out and hit the slopes right now, but so from the Facebook Exchange side of things, like I said, we're pulling in intent from outside of Facebook where it's a little bit clearer. I think within Facebook, it's difficult to know what's intent versus what's just random behavioral activity. Just because I like a brand doesn't necessarily mean that I'm interested in buying and consuming whatever that brand has to offer at this very moment. So it's it's a little bit difficult to find those intent signals within Facebook. At least that's my perspective.
It's interesting, right? Because every morning when I wake up, I actually scroll through my news post, and Boeing is always there, right? But I click in because I actually want to see what they're up to, et cetera. I'm interested in the new 747-800, et cetera. So it clearly is a way for people to engage with brands, right? And I think, again, that's the issue here. It's brand engagement, top of funnel activity, but I think with the advent of Facebook Exchange, it's going to change that a bit.
Yeah, so I kind of see Marketplace, which is what most people just think of when they think of Facebook, as a very powerful relational tool for keeping that communication open with your customers, with your users, trying to bond with them, and less transactional. And that's where I kind of see Facebook Exchange fitting into the overall mix of Facebook being much more of a transactional tool.
I also think Facebook's about discovery as well, and the best discovery comes from people, not from brands. I think where brands are making a big mistake on social is not engaging enough of their actual users. When we talked about user-generated content a big way 3 or 4 years ago, but I think in social, nothing's more important. I don't want to share your story, but I'll share my story all day long. And if I can get 10,000 people to give me a little bit of a story and get that published out to their Facebook pages, we see amazing acquisition and very measurable acquisition from campaigns like that.
That actually, I'll skip ahead because of that. You mentioned, that's sort of the content angle, user-generated content. But how can marketers use content on Facebook and social media in general to sort of drive sales, or at least drive people down the conversion funnel?
Well, the easiest way is to email your customers and ask them what they did today. How'd they use it? Expedia sends about 10,000, well, they had a campaign, they don't do it today. Send 10,000 emails a week out to people who are coming back from Hawaii. And they ask the question, it wasn't please rank the booking process on Expedia.com, it was why did you go to Hawaii? Room for a picture to be submitted, took people to a forum, not to Facebook, and people wrote these amazing stories. My father's dying of cancer. My wife, I promised her a honeymoon 20 years ago. All these great stories, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these stories. Stories come in, they all get published out to SEO. Then they trigger an email back to the customer saying, hey, we just shared your family story on our website. Share it. And everybody clicked on a big fat Facebook button. And that all of a sudden put 10,000 stories out to 10,000 individuals' Facebook pages. And look at me, I'm on Expedia's website. And that became a gigantic acquisition campaign. And it worked beautifully.
So I think it's
all the time.
really important to differentiate between sort of the paid Facebook advertising options versus the sponsored advertising options. And so I think what you're describing is more the organic,
I don't know anything about paid advertising.
but I'm very bullish, on the sort of more organic elements of social media marketing. I think it's incredibly valuable, kind of to complement your content marketing campaigns, and to be able to do basically just content promotion of the assets that you create. It's very important for organic search as well. It's like a very powerful signal, people believe, in the Google page ranking algorithm, and people believe that is kind of the fastest growing component of the algorithm, and growing at possibly the expense of what used to be taken up by links. So I think that I'm very bullish on the organic elements of social media marketing.
Anyone else on content?
Can you repeat it again?
But just and as far as content marketing, how can you use content marketing was the question, how to drive people down the conversion funnel? Let me see. So looping back, because I got ahead of myself. Do we know how much search activity is occurring on Facebook, like within Facebook, and like what are people searching for? Is it at all actionable in terms of intent?
I think it'd be interesting to ask the audience if they use Facebook for search.
Yeah.
How many of
Does
you use
anyone?
Facebook
That's a
for
good point.
search? Answers.
There's
Yeah.
There you go.
there's a ton of
And that's it, right?
there's tons and tons of searches happening on Facebook every day, millions and millions. But they're mostly navigational searches, so people trying to find a college friend or a particular brand. So the problem with navigational searches is they're not very rich in commercial intent. I mean, you can place paid search ads in Facebook, so that if you search for like Match.com, you'll see an ad for OkCupid, but they tend to not do as well because the intent wasn't there. They were just looking for a URL to a specific page so they could friend them. It's not like they're searching for things like dishwashers or aquariums or stuff that you don't want to sell to people. So it's a very different search experience. I wish they would have called it something different, because it's really not like the search that we're used to.
Right.
Friend Finder, although that would be a little bit problematic. Might have been a good name. And does being a Facebook fan, does being a fan on Facebook, sorry, I'm getting a little bit of dysphagia there. Does being a fan of a brand on Facebook, does that translate into intent in any way? Or what are the limitations there? I mean...
Yeah, I'll start. I think it's certainly an engagement, right? I know you exist. I don't hate you. And if the right opportunity comes along, so in that case, Facebook is very funny because it's sort of split down the middle. And I made the point earlier, but you think about email, that's an engaged person. And a Facebook like is an engaged person. Maybe not quite as engaged in the email. That's all debatable. And then Facebook is also about discovery, right? How do I learn that, oh, my friend just went to Hawaii or just bought a new Ford Focus or whatever, maybe I want to do that too. So, it really straddles both worlds, I think. But I think it is intent. I like you, and therefore I am going to be engaged. It's just a matter of us as marketers. I think we're doing a very poor job of talking to people. The gentleman earlier used the wedding analogy, right? Seth Godin said this in, what was that book? 20 years ago he wrote? I can't remember. But, he's like, most marketers are a guy drunk going into a bar. Hey, will you marry me? 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 And odds are you're not going to get married. And if you do, it's going to be a pretty low-quality relationship, and it's really about is that seat taken. And I think in Facebook, we've got to tiptoe and build the relationship from there. If I get a like, what's the next step?
I also think it's about building up the right strategy too, right? Because I don't know how many of you have seen that. It's in my news feed all the time where you have the guy standing between a cliff and a vicious bear, and it says click like to find out what's happening, right? And you've got 50,000 likes because people want to see the guy eating or jumping off the cliff, right? Is that your right audience? Right. That's the question, right? Because you want to build up the right fan base so you can market to them at later points, find out emails, right? So you can target them, right. Get them information about your brand. And I've seen a lot of advertisers essentially go out there and, hey, maximize likes, get as many likes as you can, but hey, the majority of my likes are not in my target audience, and that becomes a problem. Yeah.
There's also a question of, sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly to add to that, I think that the group membership as a fan, it's in terms of the intent, I think it's ambiguous at best, meaning like it could be like aspirational, like maybe I hope to buy a BMW right now, but I can't afford it right now. Or it could be your existing customer base. It could be like I've already bought one, and so I won't be in the market for another 10 years. So the challenge with this from a marketing perspective is that there are better ways to find people to buy your products and services, like more effective ways, like for example buying the word BMW 5 Series review like on Google, like, and as long as there's always these alternatives, that are more effective. It's not that I'm discounting the value of demand creation and lead nurturing and all this stuff. It's just that there are kind of a quicker path to success out there.
Well, since it is supposed to be about driving social media further down the conversion funnel, and since Facebook Exchange is one of the big, maybe the big, great last hope for them in terms of doing this, can we talk about Facebook Exchange a little bit? I mean, I know Trigget is doing a lot with them. I think Trigget is one of like a dozen companies that have access to it right now. Can you talk a little bit about what Facebook Exchange can do?
Sure. So since we're at Search Insider Summit, I was thinking, where do I fit in, being that I'm doing display retargeting ads on Facebook? And I realized, and it's been talked about before within other members of my company, that it's the closest thing that I've seen in my experience to paid search, where you have very clear intent signals, just like someone searching on your search engine for a particular product. I'm searching for shoes, size 11.5, discount or something. Or maybe even I say, Nike or Foot Locker. And then the search results pop up immediately. So you have that recency. You got the intent and you're reacting to it in real time, right then and there. And that relevancy is very important. And so with Facebook Exchange, you're taking your retargeting pool of users that have visited your site, have been shopping around. They either purchased something or they browsed and they put something in their cart and they didn't buy it, or maybe they just browsed and they left. Well, with traditional RTB across the other exchanges, it could take, a whole day or 2 days or a week before you ever see that user again and show them an ad. And at that point, it's not recent. It might not be relevant anymore. Maybe they already went off to somebody else's site and bought it, or they bought it on their phone, or they forgot about it and they don't care anymore. But because you've got a billion global, users on Facebook spending on average 15 minutes per day throughout the day, morning, during work, after work, at night, just religiously checking their news feed, we can show them the product that they're interested in instantaneously, and that's incredibly powerful. It's something, that because of the size of Facebook, and as was mentioned, I'm not gonna say cheap, well, I will say cheap, the cheapness of the CPMs right now, we're seeing 2 to 3 times the size of all other exchanges combined in terms of volume at 1/4 or 1/5 of the cost. And the performance, because people are on there all day and they're getting those ads served immediately, the performance skyrockets. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's what Facebook Exchange enables, it enables you to bring your own data to the table, to Facebook, reach an engaged audience at all hours of the day, and bring that relevancy to your advertising on Facebook. It's a DR solution to social.
And that sounds very promising. It's only been around since September, though, right? So
Yes.
it's very early days.
It's getting great results.
I've
I've got some facts on results if you want me to give any statistics.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone care?
While you're doing that, has anyone else been able to use Facebook Exchange either through Trade or?
So we've been seeing a lot of momentum into our customer base since releasing it, and it's just a quick test, and then budget spending more and more and more on it. It just seems to be getting more traction than I've ever seen. So I spent about a year and a half managing social ads and social things on Energy Social, and it was all Facebook ads, and the momentum uptake, I've never seen it. Yeah, the momentum uptake, I never saw anything like it with Facebook Exchange. People are doing it, and I think it's because it's more of the programmatic buyers that are doing it. You have to understand it's who is the person buying the media. And a lot of the early Facebook ad stuff, it was like this biddable media that got taken over by, that looks like kind of like AdWords, so go do that, search marketer. So the standards it was held to wasn't really fair, didn't gain a lot of momentum. Now with Facebook Exchange, what's going on is you have this programmatic buyer through a DSP on the display side, and they're looking at the metrics and they're saying, wow, highest click-through rates, lowest CPM. The CPMs right now are like 70 cents. And some of these buyers of display, they're used to paying like $4 or $5 CPMs. So there's a lot of that in there, and the intent, and being able to, it's almost like a guarantee to reach your audience, because anybody that's doing searches on Google, inevitably you're going to end up on Facebook. They're more of a technology engaged person, and the uptake has been quick. The results have been good, especially in the display lens, and that's from a DR perspective.
The other point that makes it like search is the quality of the inventory. So on Facebook, you've got your ad on the right-hand side, and it always is top, above the fold, despite the scroll, and you're equally or less likely to have it next to some horrible content as you would on a premium inventory source. And because the format of the ad, because the consistency of the format of the ad, I know there's a lot of people that complain about we can't do anything big and splashy yet. It's consistent like search result ads, which to the user sometimes is a little bit more comforting. They know what they're getting. You have to be smart in how you leverage that, which is why I would encourage anyone who's thinking about doing Facebook Exchange to look into dynamic creative with whatever solution they choose, and testing different images and headlines and dynamic messaging, pulling in that relevance. And
so
yeah.
I actually might take issue with that a little bit in terms of how engaging and
Controversy is good. Discussion is good.
And how fantastic those ads look on Facebook. I actually don't think they're that engaging and that imaginative or creative at all. Don't get me wrong, I'm really bullish on remarketing, retargeting. I think that's a fantastic kind of a targeting mechanism, but the targeting needs to be married up with effective ad units. So I had done I had done some study last month on conversion rates in the Google search versus Google search network, and I found that there were some industries, travel and autos, like where the conversion rates for the display network through like remarketing and all this stuff was actually higher than that of Google search. So I'm definitely very bullish on the targeting mechanism, but the ads like that you can use to target there are like these very engaging video ads that show your car driving on a beautiful coast and making you want to buy this car or all the standard banner formats that IAB whatever standard formats the Facebook ad formats here are, maybe 12 years behind. It's like, in terms of, engagement.
Like you're saying they're qualitatively crappy.
I think they're very boring and unimaginative.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that if we get to, if you try to imagine a Facebook experience where you had ads that were taking over the page and cars driving across the screen, you'd have a lot of really pissed off Facebook users. And Facebook would have to come up with some sort of idea for, how to monetize it, whether they would charge users for like a premium account where they could get rid of advertising, or, if you're not going to pay, then you have to deal with it. But I don't think it would necessarily increase the experience for the user. I do agree that, when you're limited to 25 character headline and 95 character body and a little tiny square image, it's tough to work with that real estate when you're used to working with these other ad formats that are out there. But I think that there's definitely proof that people are clicking on converting through them. So I think it goes back to the relevance of the ad.
And that goes back to a content problem, right? The fact is we don't have enough content to be effective and relevant today. Now, Peppers and Rogers wrote the book, The One-to-One Future, in 1992, right? And here we are, right? What is that, 25 years? Maybe not quite that long, 19, 20. Anyway.
A bunch.
We have to be in the one-to-one future. Now take this Expedia example. Imagine that they solicit and capture 10,000 stories about people going to Hawaii. Now they have this vast database of content that when you pop up, you're not going to get the Boeing ad, you're going to get the Cessna ad today. After the IPO, then you might get the Boeing ad, right? But if they don't have that story, and if they have someone in your network that actually told a story about an airplane or a car, that's all the better, right? And this whole thing is just going to require a complete rethinking of content volume. You're going to need a database of vast amounts of content to be successful.
Here's where I think it's really interesting, right? I think Facebook Exchange is something to be really excited about because, there's some themes that we've talked about through the course of the sessions here. One is transferring intent across devices. That's number one. Number two is PLAs, right? So how do we bring this all together? I think, and we look at big data, right? 1 billion users basically giving up every bit of information about themselves to Facebook. They make big data look really small, right? What's exciting is with 1 billion users that are logged into Facebook, you have a user ID that's connecting them across devices. It's a phenomenal vehicle to essentially transfer intent across devices, right? Facebook can track that. Sure, there are privacy concerns, et cetera. Number two that I think we all know it's coming, there's an external ad network. So now you're not working within the confines of the Facebook ecosystem. You could have PLAs on an external network with social proof, right? Here's a product, and 10 of your friends really like this product. You're more likely to buy it. When you're left with a difficult decision, you always look to your friends to essentially help you make the decision, right? Social proof and PLAs is going to be a big deal. So personally think, this is my opinion, Facebook is scratching the surface in terms of what they can do, but there's a lot of navigation that they have to accomplish first before they can get there. The issues of privacy, the issues of the creepiness factor, et cetera, they have to get past. But there's a lot of opportunity here.
You mentioned the external network. Is that a known thing? Is that definitely going to happen, or is that rumored at this point?
I've seen a bunch of articles about it. I did read that they're trying to acquire Atlas, if I'm not mistaken.
The guy who created AdSense for Google.
There you go.
mean, that's the most telling thing. They hired the guy who created AdSense for Google. That was take all the search data and go outside network, outside the Google search experience. And then, you know, to your point, I mean, they're adding social context. They're figuring out how to get social context in the ads. And then the third thing that they're doing is if you're looking at their telling of their hands and everything, is action specs, where they're getting people to share verbs like, I want this, I'm listening to this, and I'm doing this. You start combining those three things together, social context around actions that people want to take, like I want to buy this, and then broadcasting it, not just on the Facebook experience, because yeah, you don't want ads flying across, but imagine I visit Tiffany shopping for, you know, my wife, and then an ad floats across on the next place I go that says, oh, by the way, we noticed you mentioned, or you went to Tiffany, your wife, who is connected through your social network, wanted the following 3 items. She clicked like on those things.
Well, that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it just...
Start saving your money, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about how that just completely turns the entire ad network exchange on its head. Like, who has that data and who can create more compelling ads than Facebook at that point?
Just a quick reality check here, though. I mean, it sounds like we're saying Facebook may have a external ad network at some point in the future. You know, the Google Display Network exists today with 200 million sites in the network, reaching something like 10 billion, page views a day or something like that. So, you know, it sounds nice, but you know, what are we supposed to do now here?
Well, it takes time to develop, right? I mean, they've had time to build up data, and I think that's what Facebook needs to do, build up data. And over time, it's going to develop into something good if they play their cards correctly. That's
sure. So I'm just saying it.
I mean, they're poised exceptionally well to do, poised exceptionally high to do well, right? The information they have, I mean, the signals that are available to make behavioral predictions are just unreal. I mean, they could tell me when I need to go to the bathroom before my brain does, right? I mean, exaggeration there, but tons of signals available.
But that's not mutually exclusive to Facebook. You know, Google rolled out search retargeting. So like, if you search on something like your aquarium or your BMW and you don't click on that ad, now it knows that, well, you're in the market for this like right now. And then we can follow you around the internet while you're checking your Gmail or your YouTube viral video, you like pop up the ad for that BMW or the aquarium that you were just looking for, even though you never clicked on that ad. I mean, the data thing is, I just view it as not mutually exclusive to
Just
Facebook.
to set the record straight, I'm not a spokesperson for Facebook. I just think they're poised to do well. So.
I think that they have a lot of work to do.
On the subject of, I think my mic is out. Oh, is it there? Okay. On the subject of retargeting, both on Facebook and outside of it, I mean, what are some of the differences between, like, can we talk about first-party and third-party retargeting, and when each is appropriate, like as a different approach to different situations?
Yeah, and also I got that list of facts for you too, or for everyone if you care. To answer your question first, though, first and third-party data can be leveraged in different situations. We tend to see higher return on ad spend when you're using first-party data because it's free, and you've got users that are coming to your site and giving you, very clear intent signals. So that's what we would prefer to use, but there are some valuable third-party data sources as well. As far as comparing Facebook Exchange to the exchanges outside of Facebook, which includes Google, so far in the early results, we've found a 4x increase in click-through return on ad spend, a 2.5 increase in click conversion rate, a 6.5x decrease in CPA, and a 1.5 time greater likelihood of your users converting in the first 2 days, seeing an ad on Facebook Exchange versus the other exchanges. And a lot of that ties back to like what you said, only Facebook can show you that ad immediately after you were on the Tiffany site, because you're seeing 15% of your users within the first 15 minutes and 60% of your users within the first hour on Facebook. And they're at work, not supposed to be shopping, but looking for a gift for their spouse, or looking, doing research about buying a product that they're interested in at that moment, and you hit them with that ad and that relevance in the moment when they're in that buying mind. Even though they're on Facebook, and you think, man, nobody's in a purchasing state of mind when they're on Facebook, but they got the Facebook window open at the same time that they're browsing your site or your competitor's site. So, they are interested.
I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate. Using Google remarketing, you can target people immediately after they leave your Tiffany site or whatever.
You can target them immediately, but we've seen that the peak hours for viewing impressions on the other exchanges, which includes Google, AdMeld, PubMatic, et cetera, is right before the users are going to sleep, 9 p.m. to midnight. Whereas with Facebook, if you look at the impressions and the conversions that are coming from it, it's pretty steady throughout the day from 9 a.m. until midnight. So the time that it takes for your user to see the ad makes a huge difference in the conversion rate. We saw with Shutterfly that they were seeing a 2.5%. What was it? 2.5 increase in conversion rate versus all of the other exchanges that they were running with. So it's the time, the speed to show the relevant ad to the user is very critical. That window of opportunity just starts to diminish over time. It kind of just, after a day, it starts getting less likely that your user's interested still or going to convert, and then beyond a day, it just keeps kind of going down.
I hear what you're saying, but my data doesn't agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
Ooh, little controversy, which is always good. I will say, as far as the recency thing, I was retargeted effectively like 3 months after I'd looked at something. It was like a chair, and I was like, I still want that chair, and I sure enough, I bought it. With the retargeting, there's always the risk of the creepy thing. We mentioned the creepiness. Can we just quickly, because I do think there's a bit, it's obviously very important not to creep people out. Just go over a little bit what, both in Facebook and in general, what the best practices are for not creeping people out with retargeting.
I think people are starting to get used to being retargeted. When you're getting retargeted by Zappos, and Zappos is, not getting a whole lot of complaints and driving great results from it, that's a good sign for us. But there are definitely things you can do to make retargeting ads less creepy. First and foremost, you can do exclusion. And Marty Tigerblood, moderator from the other day, was talking about this concept, which I agree with. If your users already visited your site, looked at a product, and purchased it, there needs to be a separate strategy if you want to retarget that user. If there's an upsell opportunity, let's say it's in travel, and I just purchased a flight from Los Angeles to Utah, but I didn't purchase a hotel, then maybe that's the retargeting play there. But you're not going to want to show that user a flight, or they're going to hate you, and they're going to think you're stupid. The second thing is the frequency of the ads, setting frequency caps or dynamic frequency caps, knowing the value of each individual user, and knowing how many ads is right for that user versus how many is too much. And also the duration. You're kind of an outlier with still wanting to purchase a chair, a month later. Some businesses, 2 weeks is about right. Sometimes it's a week. With Facebook, you can even get away with a couple days because you're sure to hit that user within probably a 3-day window. Those are probably the best examples that I could say of making retargeting less creepy. Definitely don't say your user's name in the ad. They'll probably not like you for that. But
I think it's twofold too, right? And I think I'm summing up what you're saying. It's gonna be important in terms of how Facebook addresses privacy. How do they use your data? I saw a line the other day in one of the blogs I was reading. It says, anything you say or do can be used by Facebook to serve you ads, right? That's the kind of shit you hear when you're getting arrested, right? So that's the first thing. I think too, it's going to be up to the advertiser to essentially set up the right, set up the right advertising campaigns, right? You don't want to beat the hell out of your prospect through the conversion funnel. You want to capture him at the top. You want to engage him, influence him, and then hopefully get him convinced. That's what you want to do, and how effectively the advertiser does that is going to be critical to the success. I think it's twofold.
Eric, it's not just about not wanting to creep out your audience. It's also about ROI. Okay, so when I started with, WordStream, we work with about 1,000 advertiser clients, and when these remarketing things came out on Google, we were pretty excited, and we went pretty aggressively, like, hey, there's no unsubscribe button. We can just go after these guys forever, right? And well, it's not only a matter of creepiness; it's a matter of ROI. So we would set out these, time to live on these cookies for like 90 days or something really aggressive, and we'd have like no frequency caps in place, and sure enough, the cost per conversions, like, they were just very high. It just wasn't as targeted, and so there's also an argument that says that you need to kind of pick frequency caps and lifetime durations that not only not creep out your user, but also result in purchases. So, like, for example, WordStream, our purchase cycle is 7 days, so people typically evaluate and buy the software in 7 days. And so, we set the maximum cookie life to 30 days because it's very unlikely that that person will buy after that. It's all about being more targeted and more efficient with the budget that you have.
I also think that value that you're offering your users is incredibly important. If you're retargeting people in Marketplace, non-Facebook exchange, and you're just retargeting people that read an article or that shared something and trying to get them to buy, they might not necessarily be the right customer to target. That's where I say that your intent signals that you're gathering on your site is probably the best that you can get. What was I going to say? Oh, but if you can add value within that ad unit, if you can offer them a Facebook-only special or offer, or if you can tell them what products your wife liked while she was browsing their Facebook page, now you've got your users' attention, and the experience is going to be much better. And hopefully they're not going to be creeped out by that. They're going to be thankful for it.
So, in conclusion, it's all about helping you stalk your wife, I guess. Is there any last statements from you guys? Anything else that was on your mind about Facebook Exchange or anything else that you want to mention?
If I could just continue just a little bit more on that last point. This is another reason why I think the email people and the rest of us need to be more closely aligned, because they send lots and lots of relevant content. B2B emailers, they really understand places in the funnel. And I don't know if anyone ever walks across the hall and says, can you tell me what kind of content is working best for someone with this profile? And get your content guidance and your relevance guidance from something that's going on already in your organization that you probably don't know anything about. And vice versa. They should be asking you before they send emails, hey, from a search standpoint or from an engagement standpoint out here, what kind of content is resonating with this kind of persona? And it still just strikes me as funny that these things are broken into two separate camps that don't talk to each other.
The new silos.
Yeah, huge silo.
Should we open it up for questions?
I think maybe one or two if there are any, but because we're already a little bit over. Any
Are we?
last couple questions? Anyone?
My bad.
Bueller?
No? Well, okay then. Well, thank you, everybody.